Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Cheers. Hi, everybody. I'm standing between you and lunch, so I'll try and keep it entertaining and not too long. Yeah, I've got 400 slides at very, very small font size. Good. Okay, cool. So I'm Ian. So I look after the creative shop team for Northern Europe, and our team is all about helping advertisers and brands and agencies make better adverts to run on the Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, Oculus platforms. And today, I want to talk to you about how it's a video-first world. Now, I'm quite old, and for me, I've been through a set of transformations. So I started working in traditional media with TV, and then I moved to digital, so like web browsers and stuff like that. And it was like digital first. And joining Facebook, I could see Facebook had been through this really interesting transformation to be mobile first. Yeah. So to put mobile at the heart of all of our services, to design mobile-first products, we started to think about that. There's been a real shift in the work that I'm doing this year, where we're starting to think video first. And that's what I want to talk to you about, some of the things that we've learned from some of the work that we've seen as well. And earlier in the year, there was a statement made, which is around our earnings call in July, from this guy, and he said, we see a world that's video first, with video at the heart of all of our apps and services. So I work in an advertising team, making advertising creative. And when you see things like this being said, you think, well, what does that really mean? So when you open up Facebook at the minute, or you open up Instagram, or you open up Messenger, there's kind of a little box you can type into. It says, what are you feeling? Yeah. And what this says is you won't be looking at a little box in the future. You'll be opening up straight to a video camera. So there's going to be a fundamental shift in the way that we interact with the apps and services that Facebook creates. That's what the opportunity could be here. So I started to think, what does that mean for people in advertising and making creative work? So this is, when I started my career at MSC Saatchi, this is what we were obsessed with, making TV. So I thought video first. That's really, really good news. I know about video. Yeah, making TVCs, you can tell stories, got stuff that moves, stuff with sound. And what we're seeing a huge amount of on our platform, as the other speakers have spoken about, is this. So these are commercials, and they look like TVCs, but the way that people interact with them is really, really different. I thought what the Hotels.com team, what Tamara spoke about earlier on, was really, really interesting, thinking about the differences between the channels and the way that they operate and understanding those nuances. Yeah? So what we've been learning and what we're discovering a lot is about how video on mobile is very, very different to TVC. So this is a television ad, and I love this TV ad. And this would have taken ages to make. So the clients would have had to sort it out budget, got all their insights, their strategy in place. The agency will have written briefs, had brainstorms, done research, come up with multiple creative ideas, refined them, sold them into the client, gone on production, shot them, and then ran them for TV. But when they run on mobile, 80 or 90% of them autoplay with the sound off. Yeah? So it autoplays with the sound off. You have to interact with it for the sound to come on. And it's really hard. Until the end, you don't even know that's from the co-op. Yeah? And you don't even know what the creative idea is that they're delivering, because it's all in the VO. So one of the things that we're trying to understand is, how can we help with this? So this is a traditional TVC narrative arc. 30 seconds you've got, and normally a story will build, and you'll have a reveal at the end with the kind of punchline and the brand. And this is what creative directors teach their teams. And when they're reviewing scripts, they're looking for this kind of arc, because they know it works really, really well. What we're seeing is that people's attention goes down very, very quickly after the first few seconds. So after 3 seconds, 6 seconds, 10 seconds, people are starting to drop off. And if your main message and your branding is at the back of the video, it means that people are not going to see this. So the video you're playing is not going to be very effective at delivering your messaging. Cool. So one of the things that we've been working with is helping people with lots of TVC assets, lots of TV copy, to feed-proof them. So how can you take one asset that you've got, make some amendments and changes to it so it runs really, really well on Facebook and it's really effective? So there's some basic concepts that we've been learning about. One of the things that I've learning a lot about Facebook is the rules are there are no rules. So once you start to have a lot of rules about things and follow them really carefully, you start to be undifferentiated. So I would urge you to learn a lot. But these are some of the things we're thinking about at the moment from the work that we're seeing that's really effective. So the first thing is capture attention really quickly. Yeah, people are scrolling through their news feeds and they're looking for pictures of their friends, cats, stag doos, all these sorts of things. If your video doesn't capture people's attention in the first 3 seconds, they will scroll past it and they won't see the rest of it. The next thing is design for sound off. As other people have said as well, it's auto-playing video with sound off. So you need to be able to get your messages across without sound. And subtitles are not really good enough. They're too small. Yeah? The next thing's framing your story. Most of the stuff that is shot on other channels is running 16:9, but we know on a mobile phone, actually, it's a very deep portrait size. So often we'll look at how we can crop things 1:1 and run them square. And we're starting to do a lot more vertical video as well. But certainly if you're repurposing TVC, think about cropping it square if you can. And the other thing is to pull the most interesting frames out. We don't need to have 30 seconds worth of content. We just need really interesting content that runs. And the last thing is being playful with the content. So a TVC can actually give you loads of really rich video you can use in different ways. And I'll show you some of it in a minute. So this is from Asia, from Unilever. So this is one of their really big brands over there. And we showed this to the brand manager from Unilever and said, which one of your brands is this for? Can anyone guess? Which brand?
Magnum.
Very good, very good. So you saw the ice cream shot in the middle there. Great, okay. So he actually didn't know until they saw that, and I thought it was a hair care product, which I'm an expert in. So anyway, it's a really lovely TVC. It's really, really good. But when it runs with sound off, it's really hard to know that it's from Magnum. Yeah? So our team over there took this TVC and said, if we want to deliver, sort of brand awareness and message recall, what's the most effective recut of this that we could do? Yeah? So this is very, very basic, and I think of these like motion posters. Yeah? People get it straight away when they see it. They can see it's from Magnum. Yeah? We get to this kind of line as well in there. We have the branding in there, taste the classic. So these are some of the very simple things that you can do. Yeah? And this one here had the highest recall amongst all Unilever campaigns in Thailand to date. So not particularly beautiful, but very effective. Yeah? And then if you think about being playful as well, we could take that video asset and do different recuts of it. I think there was some interesting stuff from Tube Mogul earlier where they showed that if you mix like display and video, it's much more effective in brand recall. And certainly we're very interested at the moment. We do lots of work around mixing different sets of assets. So rather than having one video asset, do you have some different little video loops and stills like this? And then maybe you'd even have a carousel like this. So we're starting to look at things like bookending, taking a bit of video at the beginning, something for the end, and then having some statics in the middle. Yeah? So this is all coming out of a piece of work we're doing called Pocket TVC, which is a research study to look at how we can take video assets from TV and then make them run on our platform more effectively. And our team at the moment in Europe are trying to do 100 of these before the end of the year. So we're learning loads about it at the moment, and hopefully we'll be releasing a study about that next year, if we get it all done. Cool. So good things to think about at the moment, good learnings that we've got. Capture attention really quickly at the beginning. If you look at what BuzzFeed do with Video and Tasty, they always have some sort of visual trick at the beginning of their cooking videos to kind of drag you into it. The next thing is design for sound off. So make sure you can tell a story without sound. Subtitles are good, but supers, where you have the words coming up, are much better. The next thing is framing your story. Pull the most interesting frames out and make sure you crop one if you can. And lastly, be playful. Try and use the video asset across different things. And our products are quite good for that. You can do things like canvases and carousels and stuff like that. So that's kind of half the work that we do, which is basically taking people's creative assets from other channels and then trying to help them fix them and working with their agencies to do it. But actually, why we really get up in the morning is to do things from scratch that's made for mobile. So mobile-first video. And I'm just going to show you some of the explorations that we've done and some of the things we're thinking about at the moment. So looking at this kind of problem that we've got, what if we had a slightly different video kind of narrative arc that we used? What if we basically had something that was a bit more like a heartbeat that looped, so you didn't have to watch it all the way to the end to get the payoff? So that was what we were thinking about. Some of these things are things that we've worked on, some of the things that we've seen in the wild as well. So this first one's from McDonald's as well. I'll let it run for a little bit. Okay, so does anyone know how long this runs for? Any guesses?
2 minutes.
Very good, right. It's like 1 minute 50, yeah? So everyone's like, oh, should it be... Very good, sir. Yeah, so should it be 2 minutes long? Oh, should it be 10 seconds? Should it be 15? Should it be 30? I don't know. It should be as long as it needs to be. But this follows that heartbeat narrative. So every 5 or 6 seconds, there's a new little vignette that comes in as well. So it's super clever. And it's just playing loads of gags. What's nice about this as well is that the brand's visible 50% of the time, and also the line as well, which I think in Portuguese says, for those who are in a hurry, you know? It's about their drive-in product. So it's actually a really clever piece of video that's just crafted for mobile as well, and it uses a heartbeat narrative. So it keeps saying, a new vignette, the longer you stay, the more reward you get. So that's what we're starting to learn. If you can construct video that keeps people going, that's really, really good. Okay, cool. Is it going to go? It goes on and on. Marilyn, see? Great. Okay, cool. So that's a really nicely constructed thing that we spotted in the wild down from Sao Paulo, from one of the agencies down there for McDonald's. Okay, cool. This is a piece that we worked on with Heineken for Aflahem, which I'll try and pronounce, which is one of Heineken's craft beers. So the idea here was almost like visual messaging. So again, you've got something which feels like a heartbeat, so it pulses through every 5 or 6 seconds. It's a little bit like a cinemagram, so it's really, really visual. It's basically about going on a journey through the ingredients and the heritage of this beer. Yeah? So effectively, from my understanding, when you're advertising beer, you either talk about the drink or the drinker, and this one's pretty much about the drink. So it goes through all of the different kind of ingredients. The brand's very, very present at the beginning as well, and it's very rich and textured and gives you all that kind of stuff. So this is something that Heineken ran, and it had really great brand recall results for them. So they're looking at trying to implement some of these learnings now through their other brands as well. So the beginning of that film that just ran there, do you see how we used like a zoom to get you into it very, very quickly? And the brand was present as well. So some of these sorts of tricks we're starting to see being standardized. The next one I'm going to show you our team worked on in the US. We get the sound up a little bit on the next one, please. Okay, here we go. Kill the sound now, please. Thank you, great. Okay, so what you can see in that, so lovely little thing for Listerine, that's obviously made for mobile. The set's really knocked back and very minimal. It's not too complicated to see on a screen. We would have loved it if they did it square, but they wouldn't. But you basically saw that heartbeat narrative. So there's a new gag every few seconds. The brand's really, really present earlier. The longer you stay, the more rewarding you get. So we're rewarding perpetual attention. And this seems to be an interesting model that's working at the moment. And so I'd urge you to explore stuff like that as well. So that was the heartbeat narrative there. That worked from Listerine. The next thing I'm going to talk to you about zigs and zags. So these are some other hypotheses that we've got. So down here it says 65% of people who get to 3 seconds watch to 10 seconds. 45% of people who get to 10 watch to 30. Yeah? So this is a hypothesis. I don't know what these stats are based on, but basically we need a hook at the front, just like heartbeat, and then we show some product. Then we do the same again. So we have a hook and we show some product. So when you're storyboarding these sorts of videos, try and use visual hooks and then get product in as well. So zigs and zags. So here's our first little example, and this is for Pepsi. So this basically has a gag and then it shows the product. What's really, really interesting, so all getting out there, looks like sunburn, say it with Pepsi. Look at how fast these are. These vignettes are like 3.5, 4 seconds. and they just kind of keep rolling and keep rolling. And this is what we see a lot with mobile. So people's attention is very, very short. If you spend too long setting the scene up, they just bugger off and look at something else instead. So you'll see that really good mobile work is really, really pacey. That's great, cool. So this next one here, this is for Honest Beauty, for Jessica Alba's brand. And this is a really nice example of zig and zags. So basically it uses a hook mechanic at the front to get your attention in, and that's the point of view shot where you come out of the bag. Amazing. So that's really interesting, gets your attention. Then she reveals the product, and then there's a punchline as well, my Like a Boss look. So this kind of stuff works really, really well on mobile. So back into the bag again, come out for that visual trick, have a look at the product, and then get the punchline. That's great. So some of these sort of things work really, really well on other channels as well, but particularly in mobile, that idea of having these loops and keeping people's attention works really, really well. Cool. That's great. So then one of the other things that we're doing for more DR, kind of focused advertisers, direct response, is thinking a little bit how we can start with the end. Yeah? What if we make it really obvious what we're going for and just kind of deliver the punchline and then kind of almost work it back if people will stay a little bit longer. So this is for Lay's kettle chips, yeah? So it's very obvious what the product is at the front. You get that full kind of impression, and then it sort of explodes with chili flavour as well. Boom, amazing, lovely. And the next one I've got here is for Tide as well. So this is really, really lovely. A lot of video that works well at the moment is playing with speed of video, or it's also playing with direction. So on here, the idea is it's basically a reverse of a wine stain coming out, which is basically what Tide does. But just reversing the film gives a little bit of visual interest and makes people want to watch a little bit more. So things like this are working really, really well at the moment. Now, if everyone starts doing this, people will get bored of it and they'll scroll past it. And that's why I'm saying like kind of rules and best practice are sort of dangerous. But you should always be exploring when you're looking at video and looking for these little tricks that work really, really well. Cool. Okay, so just to kind of close out now and let you guys get to lunch. Thinking about feed proofing, make sure you capture attention really quickly at the beginning. Make sure you design for sound off. Make sure you frame the story, ideally going 1-1 and square and picking out the right frames. And lastly, be playful with the assets you've got. And if you're thinking about new story arcs, think about that heartbeat. Think about having those little loops, basically, where you can keep people's attention and you can reward them the longer you go. Have a think about zigs and zags, where you use a visual hook to get people in and then you show a product and you can keep repeating that, a bit like heartbeat. And lastly, start with the end. If you're trying to tell a story that resolves into a product, maybe show the product at the beginning and then almost kind of show how you got there afterwards as well. And lastly, the thing that we're all about at Creative Shop is being playful with the channel, and we kind of learn through playing. So the best way to learn on the Facebook channels, I guess on any digital channels, is to try and do things and learn from them, have hypothesis and measure what you're doing, and that's the way that we're learning and building up these bodies of work. But thanks very much for your time, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day.